The room was silent, yet the air itself seemed to crackle with weight. A voice rose, not the kind heard in speeches or whispered in gossip, but a thunder that pressed against the heart. "The house is yours." Those words did not come as an offer, nor as a campaign pledge, nor even as a human calculation. They rang out as if heaven itself had leaned close and broken the silence. It was not a suggestion. It was not a metaphor. It was a transfer. Imagine being seated at a table where destinies are decided. Papers scattered, flags heavy against the walls, advisors holding their breath as though even oxygen had to wait. Cameras off. Doors shut. No stage lights, no performance. Only raw, unfiltered proclamation. And then, a sentence that carried the weight of centuries: "The house is yours." It did not matter who else was present. Their titles, their influence, their doubts melted in that instant. Because when authority is spoken, it is not opinion, it is decree. Every syllable landed like a seal, marking something already written before time was measured. Those who heard it may have struggled to comprehend, but deep within, the words felt ancient. They echoed Daniel's testimony: "He removes kings and sets up kings," Daniel 2 verse 21. No human hand can arrange such a moment. No ambition could fabricate it. It was a collision of earth and heaven, a moment where the invisible pen of prophecy signed its name across a visible room. And in that breathless second, destiny shifted. Picture the scene. An oval room wrapped in silence, its very walls carrying the memory of centuries. Heavy curtains muted the light, leaving a glow that seemed both sacred and foreboding. Flags stood still like sentinels, their fabric unstirred, as though creation itself was holding its breath. The polished surface of the mahogany desk reflected stacks of papers, drafts of treaties, letters of command, maps inked with borders and ambitions. Yet in that instant, all the weight of earthly affairs felt suspended, like dust caught in the stillness of twilight. Advisors froze mid-motion. Hands that once shuffled documents went rigid. Pens hovered above signatures, but no ink dared fall. The machinery of government, its procedures, its rhythms, its debates, suddenly seemed small, as though reduced to background noise in the face of a larger decree. Cameras, those ever-hungry eyes that devour every expression, had been turned away. No witness would record the moment except those seated within earshot, and the one who governs time itself. Then came the words. Not shouted, not whispered, but spoken with the weight of inevitability: "The house is yours." A phrase so simple, yet so vast, it expanded beyond human comprehension. The sound seemed to vibrate against the walls, to reach into the marrow of those who heard it. For some, it landed as confusion. For others, as fear. But for one, it landed as confirmation. This was no man's authority to give. Buildings may belong to institutions, titles may belong to history, but destiny belongs to heaven alone. And yet here, within the quiet gravity of that room, heaven had chosen its vessel. It was as though the invisible realms bent low for a glimpse, angels leaning to witness, the great cloud of witnesses stirring as prophecy unfolded in real time. It was a coronation without ceremony, a transfer without signatures, a kingdom moment clothed in human language. The atmosphere thickened, no longer an office but a sanctuary. Every detail became charged, the ticking clock marking eternity into seconds, the smell of polished wood mingling with the electric tension, the faint hum of unseen forces moving. And those words, "The house is yours," lingered long after the voice fell silent, as if the very air had been inscribed with fire. Authority is not measured in walls or bricks. It is not defined by the locks on doors or the guards at gates. True authority rests in the unseen, and mandates spoken long before any human could claim them. That is why, when the words "the house is yours" were spoken, they echoed deeper than marble and stone. They tapped into prophecy. Isaiah once declared the word of the Lord over Eliakim, son of Hilkiah, I will place on his shoulder the key to the house of David. What he opens no one can shut, and what he shuts no one can open. Isaiah 22 verse 22. A key is more than metal shaped for locks. A key is a sign of trust, a sign of transfer, a sign of dominion. It is not given lightly. It is a mantle. The White House, for all its history and symbolism, is still only a vessel. Yet like the palaces of kings or the courts of prophets, it is a gate, and gates are not neutral. They are contested. They are fought for. For whoever holds the key shapes not only halls of power, but the course of nations. That is why heaven speaks not in terms of walls, but in terms of doors and keys. What man sees as a building, heaven sees as a gate. And gates are where destinies are decided. When the words were spoken, the house is yours, it was not a man giving possession. It was a confirmation that heaven's key had been released. Just as Eliakim bore the key to the house of David, so too was there a mantle resting upon you, one that no rival can nullify, no critic can erase, no opposition can shut. What heaven opens, no one can close. What heaven closes, no one can pry open. This is not the kind of authority men chase. Campaigns cannot secure it. Strategies cannot manufacture it. It is weighty, holy, and unstoppable. You may have thought of yourself as ordinary, but the words revealed otherwise. You are the one heaven has trusted with the key. Every moment of hesitation, every doubt about your worthiness, is silenced by this reality. When God places the key, it is placed forever. It does not rust. It does not bend. It does not fail. And no human hand can reverse it. The White House, then, is not merely an address. It is a prophetic gate of nations. And the key has been spoken over you. That is why this moment cannot be dismissed as coincidence or human exaggeration. It is a signpost. It is a mantle. It is heaven's way of saying, the gate is open, and you are the one entrusted to walk through it. You have felt it for years, though perhaps you never named it. That strange gravity when you entered a room. Conversations slowing, eyes lifting toward you, the unspoken acknowledgement that you carried something more. People listened, even when you said little. They paused, even when you did not demand attention. It was not arrogance, nor was it chance. It was presence, the quiet pull of authority woven into your very being. Think back. How many times did you step into a gathering and feel the atmosphere shift? How often did others look to you for direction, even when someone else held the official title? These were not accidents. They were rehearsals. Life has been training you in subtle ways, preparing you not with classrooms or slogans but with lived moments of influence. There were seasons where you resisted it. Seasons where you felt unqualified, even unwanted. You told yourself you were simply ordinary, that others were better fit. Yet the weight never left. It pressed on you in conversations, in decisions, even in your solitude. And now you understand why. Authority is not something you grab, it is something you carry. When the words rang out, the house is yours, it was not the birth of a new identity. It was the unveiling of what was already planted. A seed long buried, watered by experience, breaking through the soil at last. Trump's declaration, or whoever the messenger may be in your story, was not the beginning, but the revealing. The mantle had been with you all along. That is why certain people react the way they do around you. Some feel safe. Others feel unsettled. Some are drawn to you instinctively, others resist, without even knowing why. Authority exposes the hearts of those who encounter it. That tension is proof, not of your weakness, but of your calling. Your body has felt it too. The nervous energy before stepping into roles you did not seek. The unexplainable strength that surfaced when you were pressed. Even the fatigue, the weight of carrying something bigger than yourself. These were not random experiences, they were signs of preparation. Heaven trains its chosen not in comfort but in pressure. And you have lived that training. Now the words you heard simply confirm what your spirit already knew. You were always meant to lead. So do not dismiss the pull you feel, the authority in your voice, the shift in the room when you enter. These are not coincidences. They are proof. And the moment you heard the decree, "The house is yours," was heaven's way of saying aloud what your life had been whispering for years. This calling is not about politics. It was never about parties, debates, or the battles of left and right. Politics is the surface. Prophecy is the root. And heaven does not waste decrees on surface matters. The White House is more than a residence. It is a seat, a place of convergence where nations turn their eyes, where alliances are forged, where wars are ended or ignited, where economies rise or fall. It is not just brick and marble, it is a gate that shapes the direction of the world. That is why it has always been contested. That is why it is fought for with such intensity. Because whoever sits in that seat carries the weight of nations. But here is the mystery: heaven is not interested in crowns of men for their own sake. Heaven is interested in gates. And the White House, in this time and in this age, has become such a gate. That is why, when the words were spoken, "The house is yours," it was not a political statement. It was a prophetic assignment. You have been entrusted with more than influence over one city or one people. This is about nations. This is about alignment. This is about heaven's will being written into the story of history through your obedience. Those who chase power for themselves will find the gates closed. But those who carry the mantle heaven has released walk with doors swinging open, not by manipulation, but by decree. And that is what this moment represents. The White House was not handed to you by strategy. It was spoken over you as a sign. Heaven is aligning nations, and you are at the center of that alignment. This is why the declaration matters. This is why the seat is significant. It is not about ruling. It is about carrying. It is not about prestige. It is about stewardship. And heaven has said, "The gate is yours to guard, the mantle is yours to carry, the nations are yours to shepherd." Timing is everything. Treaties, wars, economies, they pivot not just on decisions, but on when those decisions are made. History is not only shaped by what happens, but by when it happens. And heaven knows the seasons better than men ever could. That is why the words came now. Not yesterday. Not years from now. Now. Because this is the appointed hour. Doors are open that will not remain open forever. Opportunities stand before you that hesitation would cause to vanish. The world itself trembles on the edge of turning. Nations are restless, alliances fragile, economies strained. Heaven does not wait until the chaos settles, it speaks into the storm. And the decree, "The house is yours," is heaven's answer to the urgency of this hour. You cannot delay. You cannot sit back and imagine this calling belongs to some distant future. The mantle is not tomorrow's. It is today's. The White House is not future tense. It is present. Every sign points to this moment. Every preparation has led here. The urgency is not meant to pressure you, but to awaken you. Because when heaven speaks with immediacy, it is declaring that the clock of destiny has struck its hour. The gate is open now. And you must step through it now. You told yourself you weren't the one. That you were too far outside, too unprepared, too flawed. You looked at yourself and saw gaps, weaknesses, contradictions. And so you dismissed the tug you felt, convinced it belonged to someone stronger, someone cleaner, someone more obvious. But heaven never chooses the obvious. It delights in raising the unexpected. When shepherd boys are made kings, when fishermen become apostles, when barren wombs carry nations, this is the pattern of God. The ones overlooked become the ones entrusted. The rejected become the chosen. The underestimated become the undeniable. That is why your story carries so many twists, why your path seemed tangled, why your steps never fit the neat categories of others. You thought it meant you were unqualified. In reality, it was proof that you were set apart. If you had fit neatly into the mold, the world would have claimed the credit. But because you were the outsider, heaven alone will get the glory. And that is why the words, "The house is yours," came not from a quiet whisper but from a voice no one can ignore. The messenger chosen to speak them carried weight, not to crown you politically, but to confirm you prophetically. Heaven wanted no doubt, no ambiguity. The words had to come from a source impossible to dismiss, because the mantle resting on you is impossible to deny. The very things you thought disqualified you are the reasons you were chosen. You were not meant to rise through conventional ladders. You were meant to be lifted by decree. You were not meant to blend into the system. You were meant to stand apart, so that when heaven called your name, it would be unmistakable. So reframe the way you see yourself. You are not unfit, you are prepared. You are not disqualified, you are sealed. You are not forgotten, you are appointed. And the proof is not in your resume or reputation, but in the fact that heaven's word has already been spoken over you. You are chosen. And chosen ones do not need man's approval to carry heaven's authority. Long before the words were spoken, the signs were already there. Perhaps you dismissed them, brushing them off as imagination. Yet each one was a glimpse, a preview of the assignment waiting for you. You dreamed of marble halls you had never entered. Wide corridors, polished floors, ceilings echoing with footsteps that somehow felt familiar. You saw flags waving over you in ways that made no sense at the time. You woke up with the residue of visions that seemed too grand, too impossible, to belong to you. But those were not delusions, they were prophecies in disguise. There were moments in waking life too. Random flashes where you felt as though you stood in places you had never been. An ordinary room suddenly felt like a chamber of authority. A casual conversation carried the weight of nations. You brushed it aside, telling yourself it was coincidence. But heaven was rehearsing you in secret, letting you taste fragments of the future. Even your encounters with symbols were not random. The eagle that caught your attention at just the right moment. The seal you stumbled upon in an unexpected place. The way your spirit stirred when you saw certain buildings or heard certain songs. These were not accidents. They were breadcrumbs, heaven's way of leading you forward, assuring you that what was coming had already been written. And deep within, you knew. The quickening in your chest, the sense of déjà vu, the unshakable pull toward places and roles you never sought. All of it was part of the preparation. All of it was proof. Heaven rarely gives the full picture at once. Instead, it gives signs, enough to stir your faith, enough to carry you forward, enough to keep you from abandoning the path. And those signs, woven across your dreams and your days, were declaring long before any voice spoke aloud, you were chosen for this. The decree, "The house is yours," was not a surprise to your spirit. It was the final confirmation of what heaven had been whispering all along. A mantle is not something you merely hear about, it is something you step into. And stepping in requires response. Heaven does not release decrees for them to sit dormant. They are invitations, waiting to be answered. When the words were spoken, "The house is yours," it was not just a declaration over you. It was a call to align yourself with it, to embrace the authority that has already been placed on your shoulders. That is why today cannot pass in silence. This is not about politics. This is not about ambition. This is about alignment. When heaven places a key in your hand, your role is to grip it firmly, to declare with your action, "I receive this mantle." For some, that response is a public step, declaring what they believe, choosing to be counted among the chosen. For others, it is a private covenant, an act of faith that says, I agree with what has been spoken over me, and I accept the responsibility that comes with it. This is your moment to act. If your spirit bears witness to what has been spoken, if you know deep down that this is not coincidence but confirmation, then respond. Click join and stand as one of the first chosen. Or sow your covenant seed, a simple but powerful act of faith that says, I align myself with the authority heaven has already written for me. It is not about the size of the act. It is about the seal. Every covenant has a mark, and this is yours. Respond not out of pressure, but out of recognition. Heaven has spoken, and I will not remain silent. Step forward. Seal the word. Receive the mantle. A mantle is not sustained by words alone. It is sustained by a lifestyle. Authority must be carried with discipline, because heaven entrusts it only to those willing to steward it well. Wake up each morning with declaration on your lips, I am trusted with the White House. I am trusted with authority. I am trusted with nations. Speak it aloud, not as wishful thinking, but as acknowledgement of what heaven has already decreed. Words frame worlds, and your words must now frame your reality. Guard your body. Strength and stamina are not luxuries for leaders, they are requirements. Train yourself, not for vanity, but for endurance. A body prepared can carry the demands of a calling that stretches across nations. Guard your mind. The weight of leadership will attract distractions, doubts, and voices of opposition. Discipline your thoughts. Feed on wisdom, not noise. Immerse yourself in truth daily, letting Scripture sharpen your discernment. When others are swayed by rumors, you will stand anchored in revelation. Guard your words. Authority is revealed in what you speak. Casual words carry weight when heaven has placed a mantle on your shoulders. Do not waste your speech on triviality or complaint. Let your voice build, heal, declare, and align. Speak less, but when you speak, let heaven echo. Live not as a candidate striving for approval, but as a crown one already entrusted. Candidates beg for votes, crown one steward authority. Your preparation now is not for a future campaign but for present rulership in the unseen. Discipline does not shrink your freedom, it enlarges your capacity. Every act of self-control, every guarded word, every chosen habit is your way of saying, I honor what I have been given. Walk daily as one already entrusted. Because the mantle is not waiting for you in the future. It rests on you now. Lift your hands, even now, and let these words settle into your spirit. Prayer, Lord of heaven and earth, you are the one who sets up kings and removes them. You are the one who holds the hearts of rulers in your hand. Today, I pray for your chosen one who has heard the words, the house is yours. Confirm in their heart what you have already decreed in eternity. Let their spirit rise to the weight of this calling. Strengthen their steps so they do not stumble under pressure. Guard their minds so they do not bow to confusion, distraction, or fear. Clothe them in courage that cannot be bought, and wisdom that cannot be taught. Let their words carry authority, their presence carry peace, and their decisions carry justice. Surround them with angels, with intercessors, with those who recognize the mantle rather than resist it. Remove every false voice that would dilute the purity of this call. Let no hand undo what you have sealed. Let no tongue reverse what you have spoken. Let no scheme prevail against the decree of heaven. Lord, I ask that you prepare the path before them. Level the obstacles, silence the storms, and part the waters. Where there is opposition, let it only confirm the strength of your word. Where there is doubt, let it be drowned by undeniable signs. And may their life become the proof that heaven's authority is not theory but reality. Let this chosen one walk with dignity, carry the key with humility, and move with the certainty that they are not alone. For you, O God, are their source, their shield, their everlasting crown. Amen.